What's going on, guys? This is Greener from Building Blocks, and today I want to take a look at what's going on in the world. Okay, so when it comes to cryptocurrency adoption, do you think that the war in Ukraine and all of the sanctions on Russia are actually causing more crypto adoption? We're seeing now in the news over the last couple of days that a couple other smaller countries like Malaysia and stuff are now adopting Bitcoin as legal tender. El Salvador was number one. I've been reading articles about Paraguay possibly adopting it as legal tender as well. I know Ukraine itself was trying to create its own cryptocurrency to try to fund some of their war efforts against the invading Russians. Now, with Russia being sanctioned and banks are closing down and people aren't able to access money, you can see now that with the price of where Bitcoin was at, say, December, January to where it is now. I mean, we're up about what, $5,000-6,000 Canadian. You're looking at like what, a 5 to 10% increase over the last 2 months since the war in Ukraine has kind of taken off a little bit here. So my question is do you think that a lot of the adoption that's going on right now is kind of like another a thing that's happened because of this war? I mean, from what I'm seeing in the news, a lot of it is because of this adoption that's happening across the globe, is because of this war in Ukraine. I mean, I think it's kind of going to show right now that banks can't be trusted, governments can't be trusted, and people are turning to crypto, to try to solve this, right? We've seen this in Canada, right? And for this freedom convoy that was going through with all these truckers, that basically they were asking for money to help the truckers and for fuel and food and housing and stuff like this while they were trying to protest in Ottawa. And then the truckers, all of their bank accounts got frozen and all this kind of stuff, and then they started flipping to Bitcoin. And then the government in Canada was trying to clamp down on wallet addresses, and then the crypto exchanges in Canada were saying, well, no, we're not doing that. We're not going to clamp down on any type of cryptocurrency that's being transactions and stuff like this going towards these truckers. It doesn't matter if their beliefs about that situation are happening. But like to me, it's kind of looking like within this whole cryptocurrency space is starting to grow right now because of this war that's in Ukraine. And, you're starting to see a lot more people not being able to access their bank accounts over in Europe and stuff like this. And they're being flipped to crypto because it's easier and you can access it at any time, right? As long as if you know the proper avenues to take, depending on what country you're in. But the main idea, like, it's interesting to see how a war is starting to kind of get that Bitcoin adoption, right? You're seeing, like I said, like Malaysia is going to make it legal tender. El Salvador already did. I guess Paraguay is in the process, and I'm sure it doesn't matter how small these countries are, and they're the ones adopting and getting rid of the US dollar or their own currency or whatever. A lot of these countries that are flipping to Bitcoin is because of the rising inflation that's happening across the globe as well, because of all the money that all our governments have been printing out because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's interesting to see. I mean, like, look at the housing market that's happening right now in Canada, right? And the inflation, right? So, I mean, I live in a little rural community, and to go buy a bag of milk, right? In Canada, we have bags of milk. They're not jugs, but we have the bags of milk, and a bag of milk nowadays is $6.49, I do believe, when I went there yesterday. So, I mean, that's just for milk. I mean, look at the price of vegetables now. I mean, you look at the price of meat and everything like that, or even canned food. I mean, I seen yesterday it was $1.29 for Kraft dinner. right? Now, I mean, like, come on, Kraft dinner for $1.29 for a box of Kraft dinner. I mean, that stuff used to be 30 cents. So when you start to see that, like bread, holy, when I seen bread the other day, bread was two 259, I do believe. And that's for the like the no name type of bread. That's not even like up here, Wonder Bread. That's the no name type of bread, and it's caused this inflation. So I'm wondering if the people that are watching, do you believe that Bitcoin is now causing the flip, where nobody wants to use, they're hedging themselves against inflation, right? And it's not just in Canada that this is happening to, but you're seeing this across the globe, right? Where other countries and other people are now looking and turning towards Bitcoin primarily, right? I mean, that's the number one. He's the king. There's nobody that's going to be 100% fully decentralized like Bitcoin is, right? That's just the truth of it. That's why I think a lot of these countries are starting to flip towards it. But I was watching a thing the other day, and the person was saying that it's hard to have a country adopt Bitcoin as legal tender when now we're at the point where you have guys like Elon or Saylor or Kathy Woods or something like that owning such a huge amount of Bitcoin nowadays. They're looking at hundreds of thousands of these Bitcoin that they now own. And so how can a government adopt a currency that now you're just making the rich even richer, right? So it's interesting to see and think about, and I just kind of want people's thoughts on, is this war that you're seeing in Ukraine and from the Russian invaders, are they kind of leaning towards now a cryptocurrency or even a digital currency itself? Because of this war, right? Because people can't access bank accounts, they can't pay their bills, they're hedging against inflation. It's a crazy world that we're living right now, and I think over the next couple of years, I'm gonna make a video pretty soon about proof of work versus proof of stake. It'll be interesting to talk about the next Bitcoin halving, which is in 2024. I'm wondering where people are, where their heads are at. I'm gonna say where they kind of have a projection about where they feel like Bitcoin's going to get to by 2024. I mean, with what we're seeing now with the adoption with these smaller, they're smaller countries, absolutely. I mean, you're looking at a couple million people or whatever living in a country that is adopting Bitcoin as currency. But I mean, there was a pushback in El Salvador, but from what I'm reading, it's not as much of a pushback now as what it was back then. People are starting to learn about it and understand it, and get their wallets and actually transact with it a little bit better. And then with them having the Lightning Network down there, and so it's working a little bit better than what originally was taking place back then when it was first adopted as legal tender. But it's interesting to see that some sort of global problem like between COVID and then now this war in Ukraine is causing a lot of people to hedge themselves with crypto, right? And mainly just Bitcoin. But I mean, I heard from what I'm seeing in the news, Ethereum is a close second when it comes to that, with that adoption. People are looking at their blockchain for many different reasons, but for the simple fact, I'm just going to try to use Bitcoin because that's the number one. He's the king, and it's not going to get shut down, right? Bitcoin may or may not. Some countries might be looking at it as may have a hedge against gold, a store of value, something along those lines. I mean, I think Bitcoin wants to be a store of value, so I think eventually down the road it will get to that point, but right now we're not at that point yet. There's too much that needs to be done, right? But for the most part, I do believe that Bitcoin is on its way up, and I think a lot of it right now is because of this war, right? People are just turning to crypto instead, right? So anyway, I want to know what you guys are thinking about that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below, and let me know what you think about what's going on with the crypto markets and the way that some of these countries are now slowly starting to adopt it as legal tender. And do you think that it's because of this Ukrainian war? So signing off. This is Greener from Building Blocks.